All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Sky's the Limit Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Doherty, and today we have Mikkel Thorup, who is the founder and CEO of Expat Money, which is a private consulting firm which he started in 2017. What they do is they help focus in helping high net worth private clients legally mitigate tax liabilities, obtain second residencies and citizenships in a number of countries, and assemble a portfolio of foreign investments. He also hosts a popular podcast you might have heard of called the Expat Money Show, and is also a number one best-selling author to a few books, which we'll dive into. So with that, Mikkel, welcome.
Thanks very much. Happy to be here and happy to take care of your audience and inspire them and hopefully educate them a little bit. But yeah, should be a fun conversation today.
Yeah, so I know we were talking briefly before we went live here. Can you just explain exactly what you do and how you help clients?
Sure. So I work as a consultant. I'm not a lawyer, but I have lawyers who work for me. We have a 32 person team. We specialize in the offshore markets. So this means low tax or zero tax countries. We do what I affectionately call the 4+1, the 4 being the immigration, the investment, the tax planning, and the wealth protection structures. And the +1 is the lifestyle. It's the thread that ties all of these things together. So when someone wants to go offshore, they want to move overseas, we help them with the banking, with the brokerage accounts, precious metals accounts. We help them purchase real estate, whether that be a second home or an investment property. We make sure that we're tax compliant back to their home country, the country where they are going to have the investments, as well as if we're using a third-party country for the structuring, a trust or a foundation or an IBC or whatever it is, we need to be tax compliant there. And then we tie everything together and put it together in one big package for them and help them through the process. Most of our clients are Americans and Canadians. We do help people from around the world, but mostly Americans and Canadians. And been doing this professionally for 10 years and still very, very excited about it and very, very pumped up to be talking to you today about it.
Yeah, so just trying to wrap my head around it. If I'm a high net worth individual and I, have a lot of assets here in the US or Canada, and I want to start investing in lower, tax burden countries, like maybe Central America or the Caribbean, as you mentioned before, um, I would come to you and you would help. Would you help identify different, things to invest in, whether it's real estate, agriculture, timber? I think you mentioned before when we were offline. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around. I want to pay less taxes here in the US. So there's ways I can kind of spread out my wealth and lower that tax burden. So I would come to you to help find different or identify different resources to invest in.
Kind of. So, first of all, you have to understand as American tax persons, you have a legal obligation to pay taxes on your worldwide income, no matter how it's structured or where it's earned. If you are a tax resident of the United States, you're living there, or that means you have substantial presence test, you're a U.S. citizen or a U.S. green card holder, you are a U.S. tax person. You have to pay taxes on everything, okay? Now, when you move overseas, you still have a tax obligation, but there are some really, really fantastic programs by the IRS to legally reduce your taxes. We work within the frameworks of the IRS, and we document and file everything with FinCEN and the Treasury Department, IRS, and all of these agencies. The tax savings, a lot of it happens either by you leaving, so actually picking up and moving to another country. And then we have to deal with the tax consequences on the other side of the equation. So where we are investing, right? Because those countries are going to want taxes as well. And we don't want to have double taxation in any of these cases. So we're trying to pick countries that have very, very low tax or low tax burdens. Now, let's take a different example and say you're not an American, okay? Because US is kind of an outlier in this situation. You have 2 countries in the world that tax based on citizenship. One is the United States, which we mentioned, and the other is Eritrea, which is a small African nation in the northeast of the continent that's known for blatant human rights violations. So I'll let you come to your own conclusions about worldwide taxation or how I feel about that. Let's say that you are a Canadian citizen, though, okay, and you want to move overseas. We'll do something called a deemed disposition. We will file a final tax return. You will pay an exit tax to the government of Canada. And then you're done. Then you will never have another tax obligation again. as long as you maintain tax residency somewhere else and it's not Canadian sourced income or Canadian real estate or something like that, but it's overseas real estate or things like that, you shouldn't have any other obligations ever again back to the Canadian Tax Authority. Now, most countries kind of work like the latter example, not like the former example. Most countries have some type of version of an exit, and then you're kind of free. And that's really where we can do a lot of the magic as well. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, no, I think it does. So, when you say, investing in, let's just use the Caribbean for example. I was actually recently in Nassau, so
Beautiful.
the Bahamas. If I want to not pay as many to stay within the IRS limits and the government limits, but what kind of taxes, am I looking at as far as savings go if I wanted to do
Sure.
something like that?
Sure. So the main program that we work on is called the Foreign Earned Income Exclusion, FEIE. This is an IRS program which allows you to exclude over $130,000. It goes up every year from inflation. Last year it was about $130,000 from your earned income. Okay, earned is the key word there. All right, so it's not your dividend distribution from your stock portfolio. It's not a retirement plan or social security or something like that. It's earned income. So you have some type of a job, or you invest in real estate in a professional capacity, meaning you're doing more than 4 hours a day, 4 days a week, and it's your primary source of income. Then we can count this as earned income. So let's call it 130, $136, $136,000. But the nice thing is it's actually a doubling effect if your spouse is also a US person. You're talking just over $250,000 that you can earn tax free. Now, there are a couple of qualifiers because it's foreign, right? So the big piece is that the income itself doesn't need to be foreign, but you need to be foreign, meaning that you need to be located in another country. There's two qualifiers. One's called the physical presence test, the other is called the bona fide residency test. The physical presence test is 330 days physically inside another sovereign nation. So this doesn't mean, you know, going out on a cruise in international waters or flying across the ocean or something like that. No, you physically have to be in another country for a minimum of 330 days. And I like this one because it's math. It's really, really easy to understand, right? You either are or you are not. Now, what we do is year one, we always do the physical presence test. And then year two onwards, we're able to do what's called the bona fide residency test. So this is more of a subjective tie to a country opposed to an objective tie of how many days, how much math, right? So this allows you to spend a little bit more time in the United States, not living there full time, not working there, but a little bit more time. You can be a little bit more flexible. But we have to show you have a legal residency there. You probably have a rental agreement. You have an electricity bill. All of these types of ties that show that you really are a tax resident of that country. So when we put all of this stuff in place, you can expect just over about $250,000, assuming you're married and assuming that your spouse is a U.S. tax person, which you're not paying taxes on. You're filing, but you're not paying. There, it's an exclusion. Does that make sense? I know it's a lot to kind of throw at you, but it's try to
Yeah,
make it as clear as possible and not get in trouble
right.
with the
So
IRS.
So the majority of your clients would have to be retired or near retired if to meet all these requirements, right?
No, because a lot of them will have some type of an online business, or they have a
Uh-huh.
profession, or they are coaches, consultants, drop shippers, Amazon FBA, doctors, lawyers, professionals, things that they can do remotely. Then it's no problem. If you're a bricklayer in the United States, that's going to be rather difficult. But if your job does not require you to be physically present there, then most likely we can help fit you in.
Got it. Because you have to show proof of living in that country for 330 days.
Exactly. Exactly.
Got it. Okay.
And the
So now
330
let's
days doesn't
say,
have to be living there. You can include vacations, you can travel around, you can spend a couple months in one place and, several months in another place. You don't have to have a job, going from a 9 to 5. You can create your lifestyle how you want it, but you need to be
hmm,
physically in another country for 330 days.
and out of all the countries you could do this in, what few do you see are most common that people go in and live in for the lowest tax burden possible?
A lot of people like moving to Costa Rica. Costa Rica is very popular. It's very easy for a lot of Americans to go to. They have a good tax system there. The only problem with Costa Rica at the moment is it's so popular that the immigration is taking around 18 months to get. Another
Wow.
popular country is Panama. Panama is where I live. It's much faster on the immigration side. We help clients get immigration here in about a month or so, and it's a full permanent residency on the path to citizenship and getting a second passport. And and it's a very good country from a tax standpoint. It's what's considered a territorial tax country. So if the income is deemed foreign source, there's no tax inside Panama, which is a very attractive thing. So then we just have to deal with the American side of the piece, which, I kind of outlined one of the tools in the toolbox. That's the most basic, easy one to understand. There's more sophisticated ones, but probably outside of the scope of today's conversation.
Wow. Interesting. And how many clients do you typically work with in 1 year, let's say?
So my client engagement is rather long. I usually sign 12-month contracts, but usually 3 or 4 years. I'm still very good friends with them. I'm still helping with them. So we usually take on, we're pretty selective, maybe 3 or 4 clients a month that we will work with, but then it compounds because we've been doing this for many, many years. I've been an
Right,
expat and living
right.
overseas for 26 years, and I've been working as a
Wow.
consultant for 10 years. So.
Wow. How the heck did you get into this, if you don't mind me asking?
So I left Canada. I'm a Canadian citizen. I left Canada when I was 17. I'll be 43 in a couple of weeks. And I've spent the last 26 years traveling and living overseas. I've visited about 120 countries. I've lived in 9, and I've circumnavigated the globe over 400 times. So I really do this stuff on
Wow.
every level. I have multiple passports. My wife is from mainland China. My first child was born in the UAE, my second child in Brazil, my third child in Chile, and my fourth child in Mexico. So all my kids have different passports. My kids speak 4 languages. I mean, we own real estate in 10 different countries, 9 different countries, 11 different countries. I can't remember, something like that. But we do this at every level, at the hobby level, at the family level, at the business level, the historical. I mean, throughout, this is my entire life.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. And then it makes sense why you can be such a successful consultant to all these high net worth clients of yours, because you are living that life almost. That's you practice what you preach, I should say.
Absolutely. I'm not an armchair travel. I don't do this at the armchair level. I am actively out here on the front lines, trying things, testing them, and then reporting back to my clients what works and what doesn't work.
Wow, that's so crazy. So talk to me about your podcast, the Expat Money Show. Um um do you get do you interview different like high net worth clients and they can kind of speak to their experiences, or what exactly do you get into on that?
Yeah, so our podcast has been going for about 10 years now, so it's very well established. I used to do
Yeah.
a ton of interviews back in the day. These days, I more report on the news on what's happening in immigration and taxes and geopolitics and how all of these things affect expats and people who are investing internationally.
Mhm.
The odd time we'll still do interviews. I'll bring in the CEO of a company or something, someone I work with, one of my partners or one of the lawyers that I work with. But I mean, it's a top rated show and we've got a very, very loyal listenership that helps drive a lot to the consulting work. I mean, we're a multi-million-dollar consulting firm. We do conferences, in-person conferences, online summits, monthly trips and tours internationally. We have webinars and newsletters and everything at expatmoney.com. But
Wow.
podcast is still my baby. I mean, I love my podcast
Yeah.
so much.
Um,
Great drive.
I was just wondering, at what point, or like net worth or life stage of someone does it make sense for them to start thinking about international diversification, or to, start thinking about hiring your company for consult?
So what we try to do is have things available at every level. First of all, at expatmoney.com, you're going to find a ton of really high quality free information there and join the newsletter. That doesn't matter what net worth you are at. I guarantee you will get value out of that. Then we have a
Mm.
membership program, which is kind of a do-it-yourself. We provide all of the legal contacts and service providers and all of the knowledge, and now you take it out there and do it. After that, we do a group coaching program, which is a 1 on 15 families where we focus on the 4+1, which I quickly outlined before. And it's a 12-month program that starts at around $12,000 a year. And we run those starting pretty much every quarter. And then we do the private consulting, which is the same program, but instead of 1 on 15, it's 1 on 1 or 1 on 1 family, let's call it. All my work is focused on the family. I think the family is the appropriate vehicle for stewarding and growing wealth. It's not the government, it's not the large conglomerates, it's not NGOs or something like that. It's the family. So that's my focus, whether you're at the free level, the do-it-yourself level, the done-with-you level group, or the done-with-you one-on-one. It's always working towards helping the family. To answer your original
Mm.
question, let's say the group coaching, I mean, probably around $1 million and up of net worth, or at least, investable capital, and probably private client, 5, $10 million, I'd say is the absolute minimum you'd want to look at before working with us. But I have lots of clients who are $50 million and up. So
Yeah.
that would be kind of the minimum.
Wow. Yeah, I'm sure you have some pretty unique connections, I'll say, throughout your time at the with your company. That's
For sure. I mean, I have
yeah.
very cool clients, but on the other side, I get to meet some very interesting people internationally. Like, I have met multiple presidents. I sit down and president elects. I sit down with the ministers. I know a lot of government officials because they consult with us. We've consulted with different governments in Latin America on implementing immigration programs and what they should do and what foreigners are looking for, what Americans and Canadians or want when moving to another country. I'd say that is very neat. I like that. I think that's pretty fun.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that's my mind is like going a million different places. I have so many questions, but I know I want to keep it to, the 30-minute time frame here. What,
Sure.
looking ahead, maybe 10 years, do you see any of this in international law, or do you see anything changing in the way you do business or you consult with clients now? Like, where are we going? Do you think there'll always be a place for, investing internationally if we're here in the U.S. To, lower some, taxable income? Or do you see, international law changing at all in the near future?
So there's a couple of different trends that we're seeing at the moment. On the negative side, we see huge aggression towards what's called the CBI, or the investment migration space, from places like Brussels and the EU. Same with the Trump administration. They're very aggressive towards a lot of these countries that sell citizenship or residency by investment. And those programs are getting a lot more stringent to get into. The prices are getting up, the documents are becoming more arduous. It's just more difficult. At the exact same time, there are more countries that are entering into this. So it used to be around
Mm.
10 countries that participated in citizenship by investment. But now it's like every month or two, I'm reading about a new country who's doing citizenship by investment. And we have entire new industries, or not industries, entire new jurisdictions that are opening up. For example, we are helping people with Africa. So Sierra Leone and Botswana and Saint Tome and Principe are all programs that are opening, or are opened or are about to be opened. You know, there's a couple other ones that are opening up in Africa right now. If you had told people 5, 10 years ago about a citizenship by investment program in Africa, they would have thought you were crazy. But actually, these are really, really popular now. A lot of people really like these things. They open you up to different travel blocks. There's benefits for a lot of these. So it's not the same industry as it was a few years ago. And I think it will continue in this kind of direction where the US and the Schengen zone, the EU and stuff is going to get more stringent, and the rest of the world is going to start participating in trading and freedom of movement with themselves.
Mm. Now I know, I'm sure it's in your world too. You have, Bitcoin, for example, has come into play. Especially, I believe in Argentina, you can use it as a daily way to buy things. and a lot of people have different thoughts there. But how do you see Bitcoin or other coin based platforms coming into your world, or are are you seeing other countries adapt that, or how does that play into your whole the whole expat?
Yeah, I mean, I've been into Bitcoin since 2016, so I was buying Bitcoin when it was three figures. I am most excited and have always been very excited about the peer-to-peer nature of it. We are seeing
Hmm.
sovereign nations that are adapting to the changes in the world with stable coins and with Bitcoin. I mean, El Salvador is the big player in this space. They're well, let's say El Salvador is the one that is front and center that most people are looking at. But in
Okay.
reality, there are some countries that have even better laws than El Salvador surrounding Bitcoin. For example, here in Panama, our mayor of Panama City, and you have to understand Panama really is Panama City. I mean, that is like the major city here. Our mayor is like 36 years old, 37 years old, and he's a Bitcoin
Wow.
maxi. So he allows you to pay your property taxes and everything in Panama in Bitcoin.
No way.
Supposed to accept funds to transfer through the Panama Canal in Bitcoin to start a municipal wealth fund of the city of Panama and hold Bitcoin on the balance sheet. And the mayor lives like 1 minute from my house. So, I mean, this is really interesting stuff that's happening down here in Latin America that you just don't see in other parts of the world.
Yeah, wow. And as far as all of the you know, um, cloud-based or Ethereum, do you believe in Bitcoin the most out of all of the options there are?
I mean, there are a lot of interesting projects out there. I think 99.999% of them are spammy, junky crap.
Yeah.
But I mean, Bitcoin, I think, is very viable. I've been into Solana for a long time. I looked at the technology. I think that that is a monster of a high speed blockchain, and I think it's going to eat Ethereum's lunch. But we will see. I mean, there are some. I know some of the guys who created Ethereum, and they're super smart guys. And if anybody is going to catch up, and they've got the branding and they've got the first mover advantage for smart contracts and for a lot of these things,
Yeah.
I think that they can do well. But I do like Solana as well, and I think XRP is like the biggest scam in the world. And if anyone's listening to that today, I would. I mean, I'm not giving individual financial, tax, or legal advice in today's conversation, but I think that's a absolutely garbage project.
Yeah. And one more question I want to leave you with is, other than real estate, because I primarily invest in real estate, have a little bit of Bitcoin. Good to see your thoughts on that. Reassuring at least. And what are some other assets that people can invest in overseas that might not be as widely talked about as real estate or Bitcoin, for example? What are some other clients investing in overseas?
Well, we do land banking. We do a little bit of agricultural land. We do timberland. We've got large plots of timberland. The other big one is precious metals. We do a lot of work with
Mm,
international storage of precious metals. That has been on a tear. I mean, I started buying silver at $12, and I think it's at $94 right now an
yeah.
ounce as of today's recording. Who knows in a couple of weeks, but and gold, I mean, gold is at 4,700 and 4,750 or something like that. That
Yep.
was less than half just like a year or so ago. So precious metals are on a massive tear. We store internationally in 100% allocated, 100% segregated, 100% insured depositories. Um, by the guys who protect this stuff are really the best of the best of the best. This is the, not to be cliche, but the gold standard of storage internationally. And yeah, there's some really cool things that we do with that. Actually, if you guys want more information about precious metals storage specifically, once again, not investment advice, but what to look for in a vault, what the contract should look like, who you should work with, all of these things to keep you safe, then you can go to expatmoney.com/gold. And I got a ton of information on there for you.
And you say storage. What exactly? Like, when I don't own any gold or precious metals, it's interesting, and I've definitely watched the rise in silver prices. But When you say storage, you mean like storing physical coins and
Absolutely.
gold and silver and
Absolutely.
precious metals?
Bars, rounds,
Okay.
sovereign coins, physical, where the asset itself does not appear on anyone else's balance sheet. They are strictly working as a custodian or a security to protect it. So we're looking at, L3 doors, UL3 doors on six-sided vaults with all of the things that you would have seen in the movies, the seismic and the vibration and the temperature control and the cameras and all of these types of things. Really, really sophisticated storage held offshore in tax-free countries and really cutting edge type of things. But yes, we're not talking ETFs. We're not talking about foldable gold or paper gold or COMEX or any of these types of things. We're not talking mining stocks. I'm talking about physically holding metals with a serial number that you are the only owner of with no counterparty risk whatsoever.
Wow. Would I have to buy these overseas and store them overseas to truly kind of shield that tax liability?
So let's not get confused. So once again, if you are an American tax person and you buy and
Right.
sell something, if you're making a capital gains or you're making an income from something, you must pay taxes. But that's not to say that you can't own something and not sell it. And if the non-realized gain goes up, okay, then you're fine, right? It's
Hmm.
only at the tax event, the selling of the asset.
Right.
That's when the taxes are going to come in, okay? Um, but there are other things that you can do. We can hold precious metals overseas and take a loan against it. And now I'm not a lawyer, I'm not your lawyer, but there should be no taxable event just taking a loan against the metals and then paying it back, right? So a lot of clients will hold precious metals, take loans and use it as their own financing arm for their life or for their business or things like that, and then pay it back at the appropriate time, opposed to going to a bank, a financial institution, and asking very, very nicely to receive money. You can basically be your own bank. In
Right. In real estate, people do what's called a cash out refinance, which is a non-taxable event, as you probably
Exactly.
know. I'm kind of like drawing a very similar
For
conclusion
sure. But
from
usually you need
taking
to
a
go
loan
through a
out again.
mortgage broker or a bank or someone like
Yeah.
an
Right.
intermediary where we can do a lot of these things as peer to peer. Pretty interesting.
Okay. Wow. Wow. my like I said, my head is spinning. A world of new information. This has been very insightful. Thank you so much, Miko. Appreciate your time. Where can people learn more about you? In addition to the show notes, which we'll share, of course, but where can people learn more about you and continue learning from you?
Sure. The best place is if you go to expatmoney.com. We've got all of the resources there. There's the podcast, the Expat Money Show, wherever you're listening to us today. Like I said, about 10 years of back episodes to go through. We discuss these things in great detail. Episodes are pretty extensive on there, so make sure you subscribe and then grab our newsletter expatmoney.com. We put out fresh content literally every day.
Awesome. Well, there you have it, folks. Mikkel Thorup, founder and CEO of Expat Money. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate your time. And again, we'll link every your contact, your books, which didn't have time to get into, but I know you're a best author to a number of books. Obviously, the podcast will link that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Very insightful. And we'll chat soon, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Michael.
Thank you for watching Sky's the Limit. We're always releasing new real estate content, so if there's something you want to hear, be sure to leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.